Now, at this point in time, I want to bring on the managing editor of the State of Michigan site on the Roundtable Network. He is also the host of the Believe in Michigan podcast and Believe in Big Ten podcast as well. Mr. Brandon Brown, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. I appreciate you taking the time. We got a big game here on Saturday. But I want to ask you this question, because Nebraska fans are like, man, we get a win versus Michigan. They're a ranked team, big name, big brand, blue blood, won a national title a couple years ago. That's a big deal for Nebraska. I'm curious, how do Michigan people view this game with Nebraska?
I think it's a pretty big deal, too. I mean, Michigan's got a strong road test under their belt this year already and lost at Oklahoma. Matt Rhule has kind of been billed as this guy that you get to year 2 and 3 and he kind of figures it out. He kind of gets stuff clicking. Dylan Raiola is viewed as, one of the more solid quarterbacks in the Big Ten. So, yeah, I think it's a really big deal. It's another road test for Bryce Underwood as he's trying to figure it out. And, Michigan fans would love to go on the road and get a win in a hostile environment because they're 0 for 1 on those attempts this year so far. So, yeah, I think it is a big deal. And it's the start of Big Ten play, too. So it's absolutely a big deal.
All right, so talk to me about the injury situation, because you guys, from 21 players listed on the availability report, I think you were down 14 players a week ago at one point, and now you're going to be without a starting offensive lineman. So talk to me. Is Michigan walking into this game relatively healthy? Were they taking a week to kind of get back and recharge? Like, how close to full strength will Michigan be this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's probably somewhere in the middle of that, whether, they were letting some guys recharge, and there also are some guys that are a little bit dinged up. Expect Rod Moore to be back on the field for the first time in over a year after, tearing up his knee ahead of last season. So that'll be a big boost for the defense. He's just a veteran guy, kind of like a coach in the field out there in the secondary. So that's a big deal, and just be a big deal for him getting back out there after having been out for so long. And then Marlon Klein, the tight end that led the team in receiving week 1. I mean, almost went for 100 yards in his first game as kind of tight end 1. He's still dinged up. I mean, I expect him to play, but he's not 100%. He's dealing with an ankle. And then, as you mentioned, the offensive line, that's still gelling a little bit. Guys that are still figuring each other out. You've got Gio Hadi, the captain, who's going to miss Saturday already. And then, they've been moving the tackles around a little bit because they've had some injuries there too. So I think there was a little bit of kind of recharging the batteries against Central. Obviously, Michigan, won by 60 points in that one, so they probably didn't need all hands on deck, but I think they will for this one. But it sounds like they're still going to be down, at least one key guy in El Hadi, and then another key guy in Marlon Klein, maybe not at 100%. So, yeah, we'll kind of have to see how that looks. But, yeah, they're a little banged up right now and heading into the fourth game of the season, excuse me.
So obviously, being a former Nebraska player, talking Nebraska football, I'm rooting for Nebraska in this one, but I can't help, I can't help but root for safety Rod Moore. Any guy who gets banged up, like not even banged up, but flat out hurt, he's out for a year. It's going to be his first game back. Your guys' safety. I can't help but root for him. I'm not rooting for Michigan, but I'm rooting for him because it's like Teddy Prohaska is our starting right tackle. He's had 3 major knee injuries, but he's come back. He's played rock solid this year. So I can't help but root for guys like that. How big of an impact do you think getting Rod Moore back, but also some of these other guys who, even if they're playing, are going to be banged up? How big of an impact could that have on the game?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Rod specifically. I mean, he's kind of just become, the quintessential Michigan veteran player. Comes back. He's been there 5 years now, coming off of injury. He's the overlooked Ohio kid that didn't have the Ohio State offer and has made some big plays in that game, including a game-sealing interception 2 years ago. So he's just kind of he kind of embodies what all Michigan fans feel about when they talk about some of their favorite players. So, actually as a player, he's really good. I mean, he started playing as a true freshman when he was a pretty unheralded recruit. So he's played a lot of football. As I said, he's kind of a coach on the field back there. The coaches just rave about his intelligence and making the calls and getting guys in the right spot. So that's a really big deal. He might be on a bit of a snap count, just knocking the rust off and kind of getting back into it. But he's been essential to some of the successes back there, even off the field, just helping some of those younger guys along and some transfers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's tough when you don't, no one's inside of the heads of those guys who are injured. How much pain can Marlon Klein put up with when he's trying to make cuts and get in and out of his breaks with an ankle that's sore? And some of the linemen that maybe could have went last week if you needed them against a more formidable opponent, but against CMU, you tell them to take a load off and get ready for Nebraska. So that's all part of it. Just seeing who can deal with the pain, how everybody's feeling after a week off, and then Rod getting back out there after well over a year of not playing football should be pretty exciting to see how he kind of slots back in there.
Michigan insider Brandon Brown with us here on the Adam Carriker Show. Brandon, I want to ask you, of course, Sharon Moore, the self-imposed 2-game suspension, decided to make Nebraska part of that and not, the Oklahoma game. Seemed a bit odd from the outside. I think some Nebraska fans a little slighted by that. Of course, we know about the Oklahoma connection, but to choose to do a conference road game and a road opener and conference opener instead of the Oklahoma game. Was there much talk around Ann Arbor about that, or what, the decision of when to take the 2 games?
Yeah, it was weird from the beginning to even be able to kind of pick when you want anyway. It's kind of strange. It's weird, the self-imposed penalty. Let's go ahead and try to get these 2 games. The NCAA says, all right, that's fine. Is that really a penalty if you get to pick? I don't know. It's weird. That's about all I can really say about it. There hasn't been a lot of discussion. More of the discussion has been about Biff Poggi stepping in and taking over as head coach for these couple weeks, because he's just such a character, and he's got such a cool and interesting and unique background when it comes to his life away from football, and then how he's been with Michigan, and then he was gone, and then he comes back, and he's just an interesting dude to talk to. So there's been more focus on who replaced Sharon than Sharon being gone, I guess you could say. But it's weird. I mean, he wanted to be there for the Oklahoma game. That's his alma mater. He played there, but he also had many, many years put in at Central Michigan. That's kind of where he got his start as a coach, and that one was one of the suspension games. So I don't know. It's kind of bizarre all the way around, and I hadn't even thought about maybe, Nebraska people feeling like, hey, you don't even need your head coach against us. All right, we got you on that. But I don't know. I haven't ever thought of it that way. The whole thing just seems kind of strange from the beginning, picking which games you're going to be suspended for, and they're not even the first 2. And it's just, I don't know, kind of random if you ask me.
I told you, Michigan, they never once said, hey, we're going to insult Nebraska. That wasn't on their radar. Now, that doesn't mean you can't feel a certain way if you're a Nebraska fan, but it's not on their radar. Can you imagine? Do you have kids, Brandon?
I have a son, a 5-year-old. I do, yes.
Could you imagine, hey, you just pick whatever you want your punishment to be. Could you imagine how that would go as he grows up? Like what that would, I'm going to make myself eat cake. I mean, obviously that's an extreme example, but you get my point, All right, man, let's talk about Biff Poggi. For those who may not be as familiar with him, Nebraska fans, college football fans in general, give us a little bit, if you don't mind, a background on him and kind of how his approach and what he brings to the table versus what Sharon Moore typically might do if he were roaming the sidelines on Saturday.
Yeah, so he described himself as the player's weird old Italian grandpa. That's how he described himself. So you can throw that out there however you want. But he's got a little. He's an older dude. He's quite a bit. He talked about that. He said, "I've got kids as old as Sharon. He's in his 60s probably. Sharon, I think, is approaching 40." And so he's different in that regard, but the players absolutely love him. He's really fun and funny to talk to. He's got a little line or a little quote for just about everything, and he's just like a football dude through and through. But he says, repeatedly, he just wants to coach the game kind of in Sharon's image, but it didn't really feel like that against Central Michigan. I mean, I know Michigan was expected to win by a lot, and they win by 60, but the playbook felt a little more opened up. Felt like Chip Lindsey was kind of doing more of what he wanted to do and more of what he did at North Carolina, offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey. More designed runs with Bryce Underwood. I mean, he Bryce Underwood goes over 100 yards rushing, scores 2 touchdowns with his legs in that game, and up to that point, he hadn't even carried the ball at all, like literally at all. And so it felt a little bit different. So it's, they still want to run the ball with the two-headed monster and Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall, but it just felt different. And I know it was Central, and I know they kind of ran him out of the stadium, but it had a different vibe. The play calling seemed a little bit more rhythmic, and I don't know if that's the opponent, Chip Lindsey, getting a little more freedom as the play caller, or if it is Biff saying let's turn them loose, let's let everybody do their thing, and that's what it looked like. So everybody in Ann Arbor and around that program is very, very curious to see how it's going to look against a much better team in Nebraska on the road.
Well, Nebraska, too, fans are very curious to see what Bryce Underwood does, specifically with his legs tomorrow, because they struggled against the running quarterback in Cincinnati at a week 1. What is the review so far for Bryce Underwood? Obviously, didn't have the best statistical game against Oklahoma. Like you said, opened up his legs here. What's the review so far for Bryce Underwood?
I mean, everybody around Michigan is maybe a little biased, but you think he's all world, and talent-wise he is. I mean, he's got one of the most electric arms I've ever seen. I mean, that's not hyperbole. I mean, the kid was the number one recruit in the country for a reason. He's 6'4", he's 230, probably runs 4.5. He's a pass-first guy, but can absolutely kill you with his legs if he wants, or if that's what the coaches want to do. But again, through the first 2 games, they didn't run him at all. I mean, John Mateer was running all over the place, scored 2 touchdowns against Michigan, is the main reason why they won that game in Norman, and didn't get any of it in the other direction from Michigan. And then against Central, I think he carries it 14 or 15 times, probably 10 times on design quarterback runs, goes over 100 yards and scores twice. I mean, it was strange to not use that weapon at all against Oklahoma when you definitely needed it, and then to bust it out against Central when you didn't need it. So that was kind of strange. So, the reviews are, he's still a true freshman. This is just start number 4. He's going to probably make a mistake here or there. He got fooled a couple times against Oklahoma, got fooled a couple times against Central, but he can make every single throw. He's absolutely big enough to take some hits, and he is definitely athletic enough to hurt you with his legs. So it's just about, how they use him and what the coaches want to do with him and what kind of positions they put him in. Because if you put him in a position to have some success and then he can sprinkle in his own, God-given ability, he can do whatever he wants on the football field.
Man, I know Sherrone Moore's a really good football coach. I ain't questioning that. You almost got me wishing he was on the sidelines this Saturday.
Well, there was a little. I hope it didn't come off that way. But
No,
it
not
certainly
at all.
felt like it certainly felt like, when the cat's away, the mice will play a little bit. That's what it felt like in some instances. Like I said, they didn't use him as a runner at all, and then they did a lot against Central when you probably didn't need it. So, everybody was kind of wondering, like, okay, well, Sherrone's going to be gone again. Let's see how it looks, in Lincoln, because that'll be the real test.
All right, one last question before we get you out of here. Do you have a score prediction for the game on Saturday?
Man, I think it really does come down. I know Michigan's favored is, what is it, maybe 2.5 now, essentially a pick 'em, right? I think something like that. It's going to come down to the usage of Bryce Underwood. I truly think that. I mean, if they put the lid on things again like they did against Oklahoma, I don't think they'll win. I think he needs to run the ball 10, 15 times, whether it's on scrambles or, QB power, or if he's keeping it on reads, whatever. And if he doesn't run or the running game is ineffective, I think Nebraska will win the game. So, my slightly biased report, I will go 31-28 Michigan. And I think that's right around, I think it'll be about a field goal in either direction, whoever ends up winning.
All right, Brandon, I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate that.